Hi everyone, welcome back to Ponderosa North for the love of Bonanza. Well over 14 seasons, there were literally hundreds of guest stars. Some were Oscar winners, some were Emmy winners, some were musical theater stars, some were Shakespearean actors, some were at the beginning of their careers, and some were at the end of their careers. But Bonanza was a plethora of amazing guest stars. Today I'm going to name many. And to baby boomers like us, you're going to recognize all of these names. So I'm just going to get started. Hang on to your hats. Here we go. Scatman Crothers, Dean Jones, Robert Culp, Mercedes McCambridge, Royal Dano, Robert Brown, Warren Oates, Tom Skerritt, Gene Cooper, Ross Martin, Buddy Ebsen, Jack Lord, Marlo Thomas, Leslie Nielsen, Claude Akins, Lloyd Nolan, Ricardo Montalban, James MacArthur, Yvonne DiCarlo. Yvonne DiCarlo was in the pilot episode, A Rose for Lotta. Leif Erikson, Robert Lansing, George Kennedy, Oscar winner George Kennedy. He won for Cool Hand Luke. Ted Knight, best known as Ted Baxter on the Mary Tyler Moore Show. Jenna Rollins. Here's Jenna Rollins. Very beautiful woman. She was in She Walks in Beauty, and she was Haas's fiance, but she seduced Adam. Oopsie. Bit of a problem there on the Ponderosa. Where are we? Judy Carn, Stephanie Powers. She played Calamity Jane. Michael Burns, Ed Begley Sr., Inga Svensson, Peter Breck from The Big Valley. Jack Elam, Robert Vaughn. Well, Robert Vaughn was everywhere in the 60s, wasn't he? He was everywhere from Bullitt to The Magnificent Seven to his own TV show, The Man from U.N.C.L.E. He got a lot of work in the 60s. He sure did. Julie Harris, Stella Stevens, Denver Pyle, Anthony Caruso, Hoyt Axton, Tina Louise, Steve Forrest, John Anderson, Joan Van Ark, James Gregory, Ben Johnson, Will Gear, Robert Pine, Simon Oakland, Bonnie Bedelia, Dana Elcar, Larry Linville, Dean Stockwell, Susan Howard, and Joe Don Baker. Ho ho ho, there's way more. Hang on. Pat Hindle, Strother Martin, Anthony Zerbe, John Aston, Richard Thomas, Christopher Connolly, Michael Dunn, Ralph Waite, Richard Kiley. Well, I remember seeing Richard Kiley at the Royal Alec about 40 years ago in Man of La Mancha. And I'll tell you what, it's very memorable for me from my childhood. Listening to Richard Kiley sing To Dream the Impossible Dream, it was just, every time I think of it, it just gives me goosebumps. Can you imagine a duet with Richard Kiley and Pernell Roberts? Wow, wouldn't that have been magnificent? Okay, let's continue on with Lou Gossett Jr., John Vernon, Dabney Coleman, George Montgomery, Bruce Dern. Well, what Western wasn't Bruce Dern in? Zsa Zsa Gabor, Lloyd Bachner, James B. Sicking, Andy Devine, Sally Kellerman, Michael Conrad, Jack Albertson, Victor French. Well, Victor French, that was the beginning of a beautiful friendship because he and Michael Landon went on to do Little House on the Prairie and Highway to Heaven. Those two must have really hit it off on Bonanza because Victor French and Michael Landon seem to be joined at the hip for the next 3 decades. Don Wells, Iron Eyes Cody, Jan Michael Vincent, Tom Bosley, Greg Mullavey, Wayne Newton. Wayne Newton was on a couple of times, and of course he did a lot of music on that. He sang, "Fare thee well, old Joe Clark, fare thee well, I'm gone. Fare thee well, old Joe Clark, you better be getting on." He also did a Christmas show with some original Christmas songs. I might feature those at Christmas time, but they were very good. So he was on a couple of times. David Ladd, son of Alan Ladd. David Ladd was just a child at the time. John Saxon, Linda Day George, Richard Farnsworth, Robert Middleton, Slim Pickens, Teresa Wright, Clint Howard, DeForest Kelly, Richard Anderson, Joan Blondell. Well, she was great in The Pressure Game. She played Laura Dayton's Aunt Lil. And she was quite the matchmaker, wasn't she? Jim Davis from Dallas, Noah Beery, James Colburn. Okay, James Colburn. He had his first movie with Pernell Roberts in Ride Lonesome. And he appeared on Bonanza 3 times. So he and Pernell worked together a lot at the beginning of their careers. So yeah, his first movie was Ride Lonesome with Pernell Roberts. Where am I? Charles Bronson, Marriott Hartley, Cameron Mitchell, Jane Greer, Ida Lupino, Cesar Romero, Sebastian Cabot, Alan Hale Jr., Jack Warden, Telly Savalas, Carol O'Connor, a.k.a. Archie Bunker, Vic Morrow, Ed Wynn, Keenan Wynn, Vera Miles, Foster Brooks, Rip Torn, Jack Cassidy, Robert Mulligan, Sandy Duncan, Keith Carradine, and Robert Carradine, the patriarch of the Carradine family. He was in the episode Springtime. Forrest Tucker, Dub Taylor, Ann Prentice, Chief Dan George, Doc Severinsen, Loretta Swit, Jodie Foster. Here's little Jodie Foster, 6 years old, probably her third or fourth project. She played a little girl named Bluebird, and she was just adorable. Look at her. Future Oscar winner, Jodie Foster, there with Suzanne Flechette. Okay, Ken Howard, Kate Jackson, Ron Howard, David Cassidy. David Cassidy was probably 17 or 18 when he was in Bonanza, one of his first acting roles. Mike Farrell. And there's more. Howard Duff, Barry Sullivan, Ellen Corby, Leonard Nimoy, Julie Adams, Adam West, Batman. Martin Landau, an extremely accomplished actor, went to the Actors Studio in New York. Clu Gulager and Keir Dullea. Keir was in, he was Hal in 2001: A Space Odyssey. That's his claim to fame. Ozzie Davis, Vince Van Patten, Lawrence Luckenbill, Bradford Dillman, Ronnie Cox, Stacy Keach, Rory Calhoun, Joan Hackett, Earl Holliman, Beau Bridges, Vera Miles, Kim Darby, James Whitmore, Susan Sarandon, Mitch Vogel made an appearance before he became a regular, and Dennis Hopper. Here's a young Dennis Hopper here with Mike Landon. But the most notable guest star, in my opinion, is Lee Marvin. And there's kind of a story behind this. Pernell Roberts was always, I'm bored. Give me something to do. I don't have anything to do. You're not challenging me. So when the script, The Crucible, came along, finally it was a great script. And Pernell thought, oh, they're just going to get some B player to play the sadistic Peter Kane. And on walks on the set Lee Marvin, Oscar winner for Cat Ballou. Well, it was game on because you know how competition just lifts you, makes you better. And the two of them together were nothing short of dynamic. It was a fantastic episode, a must-see episode. I'll talk about it more in future episodes. But yes, Lee Marvin was the biggest get, I would say, on Bonanza. So that's it. I've named the names. If you can think of anybody else that you recognize, I think I've got them all. Of course, there are hundreds more guest stars on the show over 14 seasons. There was one every week. So and they did 431 episodes. So these are just the most well-known guest stars. So I hope you enjoyed that list. Thanks for joining me. Thanks for your subscriptions. Thanks for your comments. There's lots more to come. We'll see you next time on Ponderosa North for the love of Bonanza.